What's up, New Jersey? Welcome back to another episode of the NJ1ST podcast. This is Ryan McDonald. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Ryan McDonald USA. I also have a Substack you can subscribe to, an email newsletter every Sunday, ryanmcdonald.substack.com. Today, this video is going to be about money talks, New Jersey. And also Morris County, the politics going on over there with the Republicans, and finishing up with the congressional vote in CD7. Congressman Tom Kean Jr. made a vote, and we're just going to review that. Let's get into it. Follow NJ1ST on Twitter at NJ1ST. I came across the post by Jason Sarnowski, who's the running mate for the Assembly of Legislative District 24, Josh Akins, the gentleman that I'm supporting on the NJ1ST podcast. He posted that I will oppose all new taxes, including another gas tax, as well as Josh Akins. So those two in Northwest New Jersey are going to be the most conservative, real conservatives, and oppose all taxes, all new taxes, including another gas tax, which is great news. And I like that. But I also wanted to remind him and everyone else that is watching that we're not dumb. We know that Steve Oroho, which is the Republican senator who's just retiring up here in Northwest New Jersey, the same district, he was the co-sponsor of the gas tax bill for the last decade in New Jersey. We don't want them to make that mistake. We want them to push back and not negotiate with those Democrats in that way. So click on the Save Jersey article, which was posted just yesterday by Matt Rooney. A Freudian slip. DeCroche pledges to impose more taxes if returned to NJ Assembly. Yeah, it was an error. She meant to say that she wasn't going to impose more taxes. And Save Jersey's Matt Rooney wrote this because he says it's noteworthy to remind people that DeCroche back in 2016 backed a Faustian gas tax pact between Chris Christie and the Machine Democrats. Who was right next to Chris Christie? I'm telling you, Steve Rojo sponsored that legislation for Chris Christie that taxed us on our gas, that made the Garden State go from having one of the cheapest gas taxes in the nation to one of the highest. That was Steve Rojo, Northwest New Jersey. That was this district. So people don't forget, that's for sure. And let me tell you, I get pushback all the time for looking up people's votes. Republicans hate it when I look up their votes. Who voted yes back in 2016, this article is. It's very familiar names, but if you have Steve Oroho right here voting yes, right here, Steve Oroho voting yes, because again, I told you he sponsored the bill, co-sponsored it. We have other Republicans here voting from Essex County. Kevin O'Toole, I don't think he's there anymore. And then you have Anthony Bucco voting no. You have the late Gerald Cardinale voting no. You have Christopher Bateman voting no. And you scroll down, we even have in the Assembly, John Brand voted yes, of course. Where was it? It is Michael Patrick Carroll voting no. Jack Chitterelli voting no. John DeMaio voting no. But Senator Orojo's co-sponsored bill voted yes for an increased 30-cent tax hike on gas for a decade it's been. Again, Article 2016, Senator Rojo was quoted in saying that the tax package is a matter of economic necessity that will improve the state's tax landscape. So this guy's retiring after so much time as an elected official, and everybody's congratulating him for taxing us. This is a plan that delivers tax fairness with a structure that is good for the economy, that provides savings for a working poor. Jesus Christ, yeah, go retire, dude. This was 2016 when he taxed us. Now it's 2023, and they're going to try and tax us again. But at least we have this campaign promise from Jason Sarnowski to say that he will not impose any new taxes, including another gas tax. So let's hold him to his word. Next up, we have major announcement on plan to fully fund education and lower property taxes in New Jersey. Assembly Republican leader John DeMaio and business leaders announce a plan to fully fund schools while also lowering property taxes. It's the same song sung every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. They do it over and over. But let's listen. It's only 20 minutes long. I'll clip it up and we'll see what comes about of it.
There's a constant truth in New Jersey. Property taxes are too high, and school taxes are the main reason. Somehow, many schools remain underfunded despite taxpayers contributing more than $35 billion to K through 12 education. There's a lot being said these days about affordability in the state of New Jersey, but very little action is coming out of the majority party to address these things. So we've been talking about ways that we can really address affordability in the state of New Jersey. And this is probably the most daunting task that no one's been able to deal with to date. In fact, state aid has never lowered property taxes. Under Governor Murphy, school property taxes have risen over $1.1 billion. Today, I'm proposing a plan that will lower our property tax levies by $1.2 billion and fully fund schools for the first time in state history. This plan would also help the districts adversely affected by S2. We've worked with education stakeholders and property tax stakeholders for a year to put this legislation together. I'm proud to say we have received good feedback and that every single school district and every single property taxpayer will benefit from this proposal. It's incredibly simple. The state will be obligated to fund school districts up to their adequacy budget. The formula determined amount to provide a thorough and efficient education. And most importantly, every additional dollar of state aid must go to lower school property taxes on a dollar-for-dollar basis. And the state would provide more aid than without this bill because of the adequacy target. So by the state doing their job, which has never been accomplished, and funding schools to adequacy, the amount of money that's being paid locally, then we could cut that back down. And it'll be mandated that the levies, the tax levy at the local level be cut. No one's ever asked for that in the bill before. S2 didn't ask for that. And any other iterations never asked that we cut property tax if we sent additional aid at any level. And then the school districts would have the options to raise at the local level some local property tax dollars to ensure that every cost were covered. And because school districts will start from a lower tax levy, a lower base level, taxpayers will receive relief as well. We have a constitutional duty to provide a thorough and efficient system of education, and this is and should be a top priority. We also have a duty to make New Jersey more affordable for the people of New Jersey. After all, you know, our job, we run for office to help people, and helping New Jerseyans that are overtaxed and overburdened for decades should be high on our list of priorities. And quite frankly, to this date, it's something that New Jersey has failed to do. With me today is Audrey Lane of Garden State Initiative, and Eileen Keene, who's the State Director of the National Federation of Independent Business. And I believe Eileen has some comments today.
Thank you very much, Leader DeMaio. This is such an important piece of legislation, such an important idea. And I think it's often forgotten that taxpayers are small businesses. NFIB is the largest organization representing small businesses in New Jersey. So think about that. That's Main Street. These folks, these businesses on Main Street and throughout our communities, they also own property. The recent initiatives of the Murphy administration, the Anchor program, strictly addressed property owners. And as we all know, it's not a permanent solution. It's a temporary idea, depending on how the budget works out. But this is a long-term solution, and this will help commercial establishments and small businesses. And I'm going to just give a personal, this is Eileen Keene talking, not wearing my NFIB hat. I live in Ocean Grove, New Jersey. Ocean Grove, New Jersey is part of Neptune, and we support the Neptune school system. Great school system. My taxes in Ocean Grove are much higher than a home, say, in Allenhurst or Deal or Spring Lake, neighboring communities, Avon, Bradley Beach, because they don't support a full-fledged public school system like Ocean Grove does. So a house worth millions and millions of dollars is paying less in property taxes than a homeowner in Ocean Grove. And I just think that there's examples throughout the state, but that's my personal example. And let's hope we get some action on this idea, because it's really important to help all businesses in New Jersey who are still coming out of the pandemic and are still suffering to get back to where they should be.
Thanks, Eileen. And the very first year alone, there'd be about nearly a 7% decrease in property taxes on an average, on a house in New Jersey, on an average home. So with that, we'll take questions if you have any. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Carly Sidger from Politico. I've got quite a few questions.
Sure.
Regarding using the adequacy budget calculation, is that the same calculation as currently used in the SFRA school funding formula? Or would that be a new calculation?
Nothing in the formula changes. We just ran the formula to see where adequacy fell in each community, and we can project which. I'm not going to sit here and talk about 600 different school districts now, but you can project how much it'll affect each district, how much additional aid they'll get.
Of course, and so along those same lines, I'd be assuming the state would be putting in more aid than to offset that. Do you know how much roughly would be needed to fund the formula?
To fully fund to adequacy is about $2.1 billion, but we're actually would be appropriating with this bill $2.95 billion. That would take care of any little adjustments here and there throughout the state, and also the balance of it would go to the School Development Authority for improvements to school.
Okay, and my final question is, how would this interact with the former Abbott district list, now the SDA districts, which are constitutionally mandated to get 100% of their school funding from the state?
It would adjust over time, but no school would lose money. Almost all would gain money, and then at the local level there'd be an ability to adjust the property taxes. But it would be, again, the difference between what they adjusted at the local level, and that be on the Board of Education's responsibility to be prudent about that. But the money above that would be mandated to go back to a direct cut of the tax levy in the municipality.
So how's that $2.1 billion being paid for?
Well, that money now resides in the governor's surplus. The money was raised by the gross income tax, and it belongs in the schools. And again, we're not letting this money go back to each individual school district and saying you can just spend it. A good portion of the extra, anything above adequacy, would have to be sent back to property taxpayers. So the money is there, it's available, and we have a responsibility to provide a thorough and efficient education system in the state of New Jersey, and the state has yet to do this. We've made progress with things like pension and catching up there. If we could do that, we certainly can do this and help property taxpayers in New Jersey with a long-term solution to year after year, add more money to make adequacy and force those dollars back into the property taxpayers in each of the towns in New Jersey. And we need to start somewhere. Otherwise, if this money sits around too long, the next shiny thing's going to come along, and we're going to, as a state, we can't help but go out there and buy something or a new program that we really shouldn't do if we can't address the most important mission that government has, and that's educating our children.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about this from a revenues perspective. So we're going to lose the CBT surcharge most likely. That's $500 million.
That's not-
Revenues are trending down generally.
CBT is, CBT, corporate tax is not dedicated to school funding. The gross income tax is.
In terms of total resources for this next budget cycle, it seems like we're going to have less. And you're talking about.
It seems, or you know that?
Well, it seems the governor's treasury folks expect it to decrease, and we've seen it start to decrease, I think, starting in November. And then also, obviously, the surcharge is just, we're losing $500 million money from the budget spend. So, I mean, you're talking about a $2.9 billion program that you, or 2.9.
There's still, they had $8 billion. They took $2 billion for Anchor, which still hasn't showed up. So there's $6 billion that is still there in unrestricted money sitting in the bank. Even if we don't do this bill and we had revenue drops, we would see something happen with funding levels. But this is a higher priority than most. And we have, as a state, across time, you know, we've had administrations and of all kinds, has never met the constitutional responsibility. And here's an opportunity to take a step at that. And let's start it. And then next year, fund adequacy again with another cut, and keep doing this. And as time goes, that'll help our economy too. More money in more people's pockets, and property taxes are the most regressive tax. More difficult for the lower middle class and middle class to pay a property tax bill than it is income tax because they pay less. And the wealthier and the people who do better amongst us pay more gross income tax. So that would help at least this double hit on families. Those that can afford more would be able to pay more, and those who can't won't have to, so have more money in their pockets to survive here. And we're speaking directly to that affordability issue that everybody likes to talk about, but no one really comes up with a plan for.
Right, and then, so assuming we're going to fund this for the next couple of years just using surplus, do you see this as being sustained for the long term without revenue raisers?
Well, let's put it this way. We caught up with the pension, and that was a huge lift. And now that the increase, it's actually, the annual appropriation is going down. So there's a piece of it, and some discipline, again, not to grow programs in New Jersey, but get back to basics and meet our responsibilities here. There are ways to do this and get it done. If we could skin the cat with regard to the pension liability and make a vast improvement there, we certainly can help our working people of New Jersey, the people that are renting or are in their homes, in our middle class. This helps them the most with real property tax relief.
And you said you've been working with folks for about a year on this. Why not a bipartisan effort? Why?
We'll get to that. You know, we did a lot of legwork for them. Listen, this helps every single school district in New Jersey, and it doesn't matter if it's a Democratic district or a Republican district, it helps taxpayers. In fact, it helps the lower income folks amongst us more than any other group.
How is this different than the S2 plan that's currently redistributing aid to districts?
S2 simply took a delayed amount of money. This will actually help S2. The towns that, or the school districts that had been affected adversely because what happened was the previous governor held everybody harmless and never took any away as enrollment was dropping and moving it over. This will, over time, have an evening effect on that.
But that was the point of S2, right? They were considered overfunded by the state, and so the resetting is to reallocate them more so that they're within their adequacy budget.
The only difference is S2 did not tell the districts that received money from the over appropriations that they must cut their levy because you were overtaxed before because you didn't have adequate funding. S2's biggest mistake was we didn't put something in that bill that said you must, now that you've overpaid at the local level, you got to return that money to the local level and help your local property taxpayers and use that with the money you've made up from S2 from the state.
I guess just because earlier you had mentioned that local districts would still be able to raise taxes if they need, so how?
Well, there would be some administrative cost adjustments and things that could be done, but once you were past that point, if the only way you could do it was through referendum, according to this bill.
What's an adequacy budget? How is it arrived at?
Adequacy is what the amount of money in a district that it would take to provide for the thorough and efficient education of the child.
Is that too low a bar for you?
I think it's a good bar. It's better than we have now. I think.
Shouldn't our schools be better than adequate?
I would like to see us keep adding each year, but adequacy at least is a goal that would help property taxpayers. And as we add more money each year, if governors saw fit, they could go above the number and do better. But then you'd need less money at the local level.
Would any of the items that you said could be raised by districts be subject to a 2% cap?
Anything other than the adjustments, I believe, for the administrative cost per child.
What's going to be the impact or will be the impact to the average taxpayer to the corporate business tax surcharge sunset? Is there going to be any impact?
It'll have an effect on the overall revenue, but those revenues would never go into school funding anyway. The gross income tax is meant for that.
So then why not keep the corporate business tax surcharge in place? More revenues for the state, everyone's happy.
I don't think that's necessary in making everyone happy. You know, if you're a business trying to survive and hire people in New Jersey's high-cost environment, that surcharge should go away.
Is this a temporary fix or is this sustainable?
This is sustainable. If we could do what we did with the pensions, go from zero to like $6.5 billion a year or something in that neighborhood, I think we could afford to do this $3 billion thing and then whatever hundreds of millions it would take each year to add to it.
But the money in the bank that you talk about is only $6 billion, right?
Not only, it's $6 billion.
So 3 and then 3. So what happens in 3 years?
Revenues rise. If they didn't rise, we'd be in worse situation without this bill than we will with it, because we will have a lower structured property tax at the local level, which is a harder tax to pay. The income tax is based on your ability to pay, on how much you make. And the reality is we have not met this responsibility.
Have you factored into your thinking at all the possibility that there could be a large or small recession within the next year?
Again, if that happens, it would have happened anyway, and it would have more adversely affected the old way of business we're doing rather than this new formula.
Do you
And
have any reaction? Go ahead.
You know, and there are, and you know, there are ways that we can get through this, you know, tight little belt tightening at the local level as well.
That's your message today, though? Belt tightening?
No, just if we had a recession, you just asked the question about recession. So if we have a recession, I think there would have to be some consideration given to the taxpayers by the local boards of ed as well.
Do you have any reaction to Marjorie Taylor Greene's call for a national divorce between red and blue states?
I never heard that, and I don't have a reaction to it.
Would you like one?
You're gonna give me one?
We're not married, so you can't get divorced.
I'm not here to talk about,
Red states and blue states.
no. I'm here to talk about New Jersey and the problem we have, and in our proposal to fix this long overdue issue that people struggle with every day.
Where are Senate Republicans on this?
Excuse me?
Where are Senate Republicans on this?
I imagine they're gonna embrace this.
Did you work with them?
This is our work in our house, but they've been in the loop. Thanks, Adam. Anyone else? Well, you'll be hearing more. Okay? Thank you.
Decided to let that whole thing play out, and I'm glad I did. For the questions at the end were of more content. They had more meat on them. Got more to the point with the questions, but also the media questions were ruthless almost, you know, not even on topic, trying to get you questions that have headlines and sound bites. But in my NJ1ST ebook, which I have linked in my Twitter account for NJ1ST, or you could just ask me, I'll link it to you. It's at canva.com. the page direct versus indirect property tax relief. I have the entire seminar from Jay Weber down here recorded. It was information for property taxes. The Fair Property Tax for New Jersey was a nonprofit that held it. They had Jay Weber there. He wanted everybody to know this information. The average New Jersey homeowner pays about $8,700 in property taxes. If you pay more than that, you're paying more than the average New Jerseyan. And it's the third largest, or it is the largest in the nation. The average for the nation is $3,300 for property taxes per year. I believe that's what my sister pays over in Pennsylvania, just a 30-minute drive across the border. In 1960s, the New Jersey government decided to create the sales tax in order to make up for property tax, to take the burden off of homeowners, because property tax is how you fund most of your things in the state, especially education. Then in 1976, New Jersey instituted the state income tax. You're telling me that they didn't have any income tax up until 76? And the idea was to have the state income tax revenues forwarded for property tax relief fund. So the property tax was to fund the schools, but they needed help. So now there's an income tax and a sales tax in order to offset the property taxes, because it's not raising enough probably. They're spending too much in the schools. They're spending too much in the excess programs and not allocating the right amounts of schools. But if you listen to this whole entire seminar, you find out that it's actually the school funding formula that John DeMeo kind of alluded to. But it's, for example, down here, the quotes that I have from Jay Weber. For every $1 a kid in Parsippany gets, a kid in Asbury Park gets 28. How's that for some equity, right? So again, come to my NJ1ST Twitter account. In the link description in the bio description is a link to my NJ1ST ebook, or you can just ask me and you can have this as a resource. Personally, I think we should abolish the income tax, but that's for another video. That finishes up money talk. Now segueing over to international relations with House Resolution 145, opposing the Republic of South Africa's hosting military exercises with the People's Republic of China and the Russian Federation, and calling on the Biden administration to conduct a thorough review of the United States-South Africa relationship. Congressman Tom Kean Jr., as well as Congressman Chris Smith from New Jersey, both are co-sponsors of this. South Africa, after Nelson Mandela and that revolution, it was a Marxist revolution. And with the Boer Wars and the revolution, the modern Boer Wars with the farmers, and Lauren Southern did a whole documentary on it. You can watch it. And it's anti-white Marxism in South Africa. So maybe there's more than one reason you should be reassessing your relationship with South Africa. But this is legislation that's co-sponsored by Tom Kean Jr. Corey Mills, that's in Florida. I would have rathered Anthony Sabatini in the primary, but Corey Mills won. He's like Dan Crenshaw-esque, if you ask me. But Tom Kean Jr., they're standing up to China, I suppose. China hawks. That might define Tom Kean Jr.'s term as a congressman. But something I personally noticed that I shared on my personal Twitter account was that the left will host an anti-war rally in Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks, March 18th. They're going to gain control of the narrative. Watch. The media will support them and back them. A lot of people listening right now don't even know that the Libertarians hosted an anti-war rally just last weekend. Nobody knew about it. But everybody's going to know about this anti-war rally that's going to happen March 18th. I kind of want to go. But the left, it'll be hosted by them. They're going to control the narrative. Just watch. And to finish up the international relations, I wanted to pull up a map. So he's talking about South Africa. We all remember the World Cup, right? It was beautiful, awesome. Zimbabwe used to be Rhodesia. Gosh, that used to be a terrible war. You keep going up northeast in Africa, South Sudan and Uganda. That's Sudan up here, and that's Rwanda. That's the genocide that was occurring. I even have this written in my ebook as well. Ethiopia, Eritrea, civil war since the beginning of time. And over here in Somalia, over in the northern end, is Somaliland, because it's run by pirates, not by any government. If any libertarians listening, they know the canard. And Yemen right here, which is the existing war that's been going on for the last decade, waged by Saudis. It is a tribal war from Sunnis and Shias. The Yemen Houthi rebels, right? They are backed by Iran, which is all the way over here, I suppose. So this is the Horn of Africa. We send our National Guard over here. I don't think we should be doing that. And Tom Kane Jr. is addressing China and Russia down here. Maybe they got big picture info. They're just doing what they're told. China Hawks, Madagascar's over here. Pretty cool. But up here in the Horn of Africa, in my NJ1ST ebook, as well I have written, that's where our National Guard, who is supposed to protect our border, our country, they're sent over here to the worst places in Africa, if you ask me. Bringing us back to America, New Jersey, Phil Rizzo, Morris County GOP chairwoman, Laura Ali. We've been talking about her in at least 2 episodes of the NJ1ST podcast now. Make this 3. Laura Ali is totally corrupt after last year's clown show convention where they manipulated the voting machines. She's doubling down with even more egregious convention rules. Glad Steve Lonigan is calling her out. She must be exposed. Let's look at the Insider NJ article, Lonigan Blast Proposed Morris County Convention Rules, February 2022. In short of reading this, Laura Ali, as the chairwoman, took it upon herself and arbitrarily made some rules in that it regards to the voting convention for the convention of Morris County. That way you could decide who's going to be on the county line. And that's what Laura Ali in 2021 made sure Morris County had, was a line, a county line. So everybody votes down the line, Republican. Don't worry about the primary, just pick our guys, the establishment guys. And Laura Ali, she told Steve Lonigan, play my game or get out of the way. And Steve Lonigan says that the Morris County Republican Committee didn't even vote on this. It's just Laura Ali. So that's Steve Lonigan trying to take on Morris County after just moving to Newton. Yeah, welcome to the NJ GOP establishment corruption. Over there in Bergen, you had it, but you didn't call it out. Over here in Warren, you can call it out because you actually have Republicans who will listen to you. Hey, I'll listen to you. Just start playing the game. Just like Phil Rizzo has been playing since 2021, been calling them out. If Morris County GOP, this is definitely Laura Ali behind this account, makes this poll public, I'll pay the $1,500 they are suing me for and make another $500 contribution to Laura Ali. So Phil Rizzo is being sued $1,500 because of a booth he didn't pay for. And that's all that I can find from this stupid article or whatever that tries to slander him. But it's $1,500. They're literally suing him for it. They're going to court. They went to court. I don't know. Chairwoman is proven to be a filthy liar. So John Eisman, which was a middle-of-the-run candidate, young gentleman, just to take away votes from Phil Rizzo, he was polling 10 points ahead of Phil Rizzo. That's what the Morris GOP tweeted to George Nader, which is Phil Rizzo's guy, and that's a lie. Complete lie, because John Eisman didn't even get nearly any votes. So, and he had some stuff to say below, but he's no help. Phil Rizzo calls him out. Get that all squared away with your lawsuit or whatever. But Laura Ali, Morris County GOP, corrupt. Don't just think that and they're not rhinos because they're Northwest New Jersey. We won't stop talking about it or disseminating information, making it known from one end of the state to the other that we are watching these elected officials, especially the Republicans, and making sure that our voices are heard and that they are representing us properly. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, the NJ1ST podcast. Make sure to follow Twitter at NJ1ST and my personal accounts at Ryan McDonald USA. Thanks for listening.